This goes beyond any Dominican person who does not want to identify with being Black, especially the visibly Black presenting person by American standards who chooses not to do so due to a difference in social constructs. This is about the fact that the acknowledgement of African ancestry, the celebration of our African ancestry, does not equal the absence of racism, and specifically anti-blackness and colorism, which are byproducts of racism, and how those things have affected Dominican culture, community, and the nation as a whole. And for all you sensitive and dramatic people, we all know how those things have affected every single colonized nation in the world. But because this comment is speaking about Dominicans, this Dominican person who grew up with her Dominican family and Dominican culture is going to speak to this Dominican issue. Let me use you as an example. I can look at you and say, tú eres una morena fina. And for all my non-Spanish speaking people, that literally means a refined, dark-skinned or brown-skinned woman. And you may hear other terms like negra fina or negro fino for any person who is too Black by Latin American standards to be categorized under the term moreno. But the question is, what is the history behind that term? What is it that earns you that identification? What earns you that title? Historically in Latin America, any person referred to as such was referred to that way due to them possessing redeeming physical characteristics. And what were these physical characteristics? They were European physical characteristics, such as a long, slender nose or a short, pointy nose, slender lips or lips that are not as wide, a certain facial shape, texture of hair where your curl pattern was a certain texture where you approximated more to Caucasian hair, or literally just having straight Caucasian hair. All of these characteristics were redeeming. They were redeeming qualities in a person with a dark skin complexion. And what were you being redeemed from? Blackness. Because Blackness was a negative in a world constructed by white supremacist ideologies. And even within that identification of being a refined Negro or a refined dark-skinned person, it extended beyond physical character traits to also a Black person that was cultured, who possessed talent and education. But mind you, that terminology was not applied to a white person. Any person identified as a negra fina or morena fina was an exception to the rule. And what was the rule? That Blackness is ugly, Blackness is bad, Blackness is cursed. And just because these terms are accepted and normalized within our culture and Latin American culture as a whole does not make them any less racist or harmful. Understand that you cannot continue to say that racism does not exist amongst Dominican people and anti-Black attitudes and mentality as long as terminology like that is accepted. Because there is something within you that tells you how to identify a morena fina from a morena bembona. And people know what that means. And you know what you mean when you say that to another person. So that comes from somewhere. It comes from white supremacy. And you may not have any ill feelings towards that person, but it's the fact that you continue to subscribe to terminology that is racist in its very creation, its very application. That is what's being brought to your attention.